Peking Man is actually an ancestor of the Hongshan people. Many members of our association have previously shared jade artifacts from the Hongshan culture shaped like skulls. They often wondered, why are there so many skull-shaped artifacts in Hongshan culture yet these skulls do not resemble modern human skulls? What I want to tell everyone is that these jade skull artifacts are, in fact, the long-lost so-called Peking Man skulls. Let us go back to December 2, 1929, when a Chinese archaeological team discovered 5 craniums, 12 skull fragments, 15 mandibles, 157 teeth, and a fractured femur in a circular cave at Dragon Bone Hill Longgushan in Zhoukoudian, Beijing. These remains belong to over 40 individuals, including men, women, and children. At that time, the Rockefeller Foundation of the United States funded the excavation and sent experts to study the finds. The skulls, named Peking Man, were estimated to be at least 500,000 years old. The discovery shocked the world. Even Japan sent researchers to investigate, hoping to gather data for further studies. However, after the Marco Polo Bridge incident 1937, the Peking Man fossils stored in a safe at the Cenozoic Research Laboratory of Peking Union Medical College (PUMC) raised concerns among key figures like Director Wen Wenhao of the Geological Survey Institute and Dean Davidson Black of PUMC. In early April 1941, Honorary Director of the Cenozoic Research Laboratory, Weidenreich, requested his assistant Hu Chenzi to urgently create models of the Peking Man fossils for preliminary transfer to the U.S. for research. By mid to late November, with tensions rising between the U.S. and Japan, the transfer of the fossils became imperative. Hu Chenzi and colleague Ji Yanqing carefully wrapped the fossils in multiple layers and packed them into 2 wooden crates, Case 1 and Case 2. In the early morning of December 5, 1941, a special U.S. Marine Corps train departed Beijing for Qinhuangdao. The crates were handed over to the Holcomb Barracks and were to be shipped to the United States aboard the USS President Harrison. After the Pearl Harbor incident, U.S. Japan relations deteriorated rapidly. The USS President Harrison was sunk by Japanese forces at the Yangtze River estuary, and the Holcomb Barracks were overtaken by Japanese troops. The Peking Man fossils mysteriously disappeared and have been lost ever since. It is clear to discerning eyes, both the US and Japan were trying to claim ownership over China's prehistoric cultural heritage. To this day, many people know nothing about the Peking Man skulls, some have never even heard of them. Fortunately, researchers at the time managed to create plaster replicas of several skulls, preserving a portion of the Peking Man fossil data. With today's technology, facial reconstructions based on skulls are possible. These reconstructions of early humans were made, but many simply viewed them as support for the Western theory of evolution that humans evolved from apes. As a result, the reconstructions included numerous ape-like features, such as being covered in body hair, a gross error in scientific research. Because with only skulls and models available, how could one conclude they had ape-like bodies covered in fur? If we carefully examine these computer-generated reconstructions of so-called ape men, don't they look strangely familiar? Yes, they resemble the early Hongshan people commonly depicted in Hongshan jade artifacts. These ancestors had hair, knew how to hunt, and possessed hunting tools. They mainly hunted rabbits, wild boars, sheep, and other animals. They also knew how to use fire to cook their food, contrary to the misguided Western notion that our ancestors were raw meat-eating savages. Some may ask, how could early Hongshan people already know how to use fire and hunting tools? Because the Hongshan people were created through extraterrestrial genetic engineering. They were hybrids of sun gods, aliens, and giant species that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs. This explains the presence of many fetal-shaped human embryos in Hongshan artifacts. There also existed a class of superior rulers among them, what would later be known as the divine beings of the Sangxingdui civilization. After successfully creating the Hongshan people, these extraterrestrials not only taught them how to hunt but also how to use fire and craft everyday tools like pottery. They even passed on advanced architectural techniques, such as mortise and tenon joinery, used in house construction. We see abundant evidence of this prehistoric craftsmanship in many Hongshan composite artifacts. The early forms of Chinese characters were also discovered among numerous Hongshan jade objects. Tools related to writing such as brush holders, seals, and inkstones are proof that these sun god alien beings of the dragon race had already passed on high-level knowledge to prehistoric Hongshan people, which was later inherited by future generations. Although the skulls of Peking Man were stolen and appropriated by the West through despicable and greedy means, we are fortunate that the true image of prehistoric Hongshan people has been preserved in the vast number of Hongshan artifacts. Our association uses the 12 types of inimitable Hongshan craft marks to authenticate and decode ancient artifacts, allowing us to confirm that China possessed a high level of civilization in prehistoric times. And in conclusion, these so-called Peking Man were in fact none other than our earliest ancestors, the Hongshan people.